If the DEA investigates you and they find absolutely no drugs on you, but they think they might suspect that you are a drug trafficker, they can do something known as civil asset forfeiture, where they can take any type of property, whether it's cash or something else, that could be tied to an investigation into the drug trade. Well, 22-year-old Joseph Rivers was a victim of that. Joseph Rivers was traveling from Michigan to Los Angeles to pursue his dreams of being a music video producer. He had saved up $16,000 in cash that he was planning on taking with him to Los Angeles to start his dream and start his new life. Well, while he was on the train in Albuquerque, all of a sudden the DEA stopped the train and they started searching him. Now, he complied with everything. They wanted to look through his bags, and they didn't find any drugs, but they did find the $16,000 in cash. So what did they do? They took the cash, okay? Rivers, 22, wasn't detained and has not been charged with any crime since his money was taken last month. It's amazing. So,
I'm looking for a calculator here. I'm not paying attention to you. I find it, this is an unbelievably staggering story. I mean, part of punishment when you get arrested and convicted of a crime might be that you're fined. So taking your money is an acceptable form of punishment. And in fact, in nearly every federal case that we read about that involves people in business or people in politics, and sometimes just regular people, there's a fine in addition to whatever sentence you get. So here, they're just doing the fine without the trial. I mean, it's outrageous. It couldn't be more un-American. In this case, they're doing it without the arrest.
No arrest, no charges, nothing.
It's because they think they know. It's staggering. If you told me definitively that he got this money from drug dealing, from breaking the law, but they couldn't prove it, he gets every dollar back, every single dollar back.
Right. No, but what's doubly bad about it is that then people assume that roughly hear the story, there's an air of suspicion around him.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Well, I mean, they took your $16,000 from you. You must have done something. For God's sake, they robbed me in open daylight, and then there's an insinuation about me, right? Yeah. And so this is the most amazing quote. Sean Waite, he's an agent in charge of the DEA in Albuquerque, said, "We don't have to prove that the person is guilty. It's that the money is presumed to be guilty."
What does that even mean?
What does that mean? That's amazing. No, they are, at this point, I mean, look, I think conservatives should agree with me on this. Government agents have become the train robbers here. They literally stop a train and rob the people on board. They don't prove that you're guilty. They don't even charge you. They just say, oh, thanks for the $16,000. It's now mine.
If you want to talk about government waste, the DEA is the definition of government waste. It shouldn't even exist, okay? And what I find so amazing is not only are they robbing innocent Americans in broad daylight, at the same time, they're in other countries like Colombia, for instance, having sex with prostitutes that have been funded by drug cartels. Right? Why is it that the DEA is parading around pretending as if they give a shit about people using drugs or trafficking drugs, when at the same time they're literally having sex with prostitutes in Colombia that have been funded by cartels? It's ridiculous. I got to get to some numbers because this is not an isolated incident. Yes, we have talked about it on the show, but if you want to look at the big picture, take a look at these numbers. Graphic number 10. A Washington Post investigation last year found that local, state, and federal agents nationwide had seized $2.5 million in cash from almost 62,000 people since 2001 without warrants or indictments.
An important correction, 2.5 billion.
Billion
In
sorry about
cash.
that.
So without warrants or indictments.
So I got my calculator for that stat. That's why. So my calculator does not go to 2.5 billion. It only goes to 250 million. So I divided that by 6,200 instead of 62,000 because I'm no dummy.
Okay.
That's $40,322.58 per person. That is it. So they're not taking $12 from each person. That's more than $40,300 for each of those 62,000 people. Obviously, for some of those people, it's much more.
No warrants, no indictments.
That's amazing.
So now, are some of those actually drug dealers? That's why they have all this cash on them?
A lot of them.
Oh, sure. Okay. You know what we do? We have a justice system. We take that as evidence. We arrest them. We try them. And if we find them guilty, we might seize some or all of that money as part of a fine that they pay along with going to prison. That's a justice system, right?
I would rather these agents took the money themselves and put it in their pockets. That's old-fashioned. By the way, I'm sure that happens too. That's old-fashioned graft I can live with. You could be prosecuted for that. Good luck getting away with it. You're taking it from somebody you think's a drug dealer. That's like how this country is supposed to work. It's wrong. This is under this absurd cloak of law. This is it's no problem. Great, you took $2.5 billion from Americans. That's fine. It's like at least the other way, you have a risk. You got to sweat it out. I collected $40,000 from this guy. You know what? I'm just going to write it up as $33,000. I'm going to pocket $7,000. No one's going to believe him. He's a drug dealer.
Yeah, at least you know you're the bad guy.
Right.
Here, they've made it seem like they're the good guys, right? So it's like we legalized bribery in the country when we said campaign contributions. Well, I'm going to give a politician millions of dollars, and that's not a bribe. That's not. I mean, no, we happen to agree. He happened to vote my way because he agrees with my policy position. After I give $1 million, oftentimes they switch their position. After I give millions of dollars, we legalize bribery. In this case, we've legalized robbery, but only the powerful get to rob the powerless. So this kid, this family, they believed in a dream, the American dream. He did everything that they told him to do, accumulate wealth, right? Go live out your American dream, do the best you can. They robbed him of it, literally. He had to go back home because he had no money left, right? He's still sitting at home now back in Michigan. He's not in LA. And he barely was able to piece together enough money to because there was a guy that came and helped him out. That basically he's like was my guardian angel, barely got some housing, to go back to Michigan, and they won't give him his money back. And so this is another stunning fact it did in another story. 95% of the money that they take, they never return.
Right.
They never return it.
It's really difficult to figure out how to get that money back, and you need resources in order to get that money back. So if you're this 22-year-old from Michigan, are you going to hire a lawyer? Which thankfully he was able to do, right?
Thanks to that guy.
Thanks to that guy that he met on the train. By the way, I think that this is an important element to the story that I should bring up. Out of all those people on the train, he was the only black kid.
No.
Right? So
another wild coincidence. How dare you, Anna? How dare you? Now,
Why do you bring race into it?
Yeah. Now, look, so this is a good example. I have a friend who's white who this happened to recently. There was a false arrest on him.
Is this your drug dealer friend?
and they stole his cell phone. He's a super good guy, fights for the right things, right? And the cops took his cell phone and won't give it back, right? And he's like, well, I don't get it. This is outrageous. This is what they're calling it civil forfeiture, but they didn't even. It was a false arrest. They admit it's a false arrest. They didn't charge me. I'm clearly innocent. Why won't they give my phone back? I'm like, welcome to everybody else's world in America, right? So that's what happens. I mean, so when minorities go through this every single day, like, why do you think they don't trust the authorities? Because every once in a while the authorities come and just rob them and go home, right? So, and then when it happened to him, it's again, not because he's a bad guy, he's a great guy.
Yeah.
But when it happens to him, it comes home. You go, oh my God, they're allowed to do this? So most people don't know. They've never had the police rob them, right? But if the police are robbing you all the time, coincidentally, it's always the black kid on the train, right? Not always, as you see with my friend, right? But a lot of times, a disproportionate number of times, well then, that's why they don't trust the cops, because the cops are the robbers.